Now, Donald Trump has just sort of decided that he could fire people and seems to have gotten away with it. Perhaps it's legal, I don't know. But the fact is...
Just not, does it matter?
Does it matter?
That if it's legal or not?
No, it doesn't. It actually doesn't.
I want to establish what you actually mean by monarchy. So, for example, we're in the UK now. King Charles is our king. But by your definition, this is not a monarchy.
Well, it's a ceremonial monarchy, or as some call it, a constitutional monarchy. I would say that in English history, actually, you did have a period of genuine constitutional monarchy where power was divided between Parliament and the king. That was from 1660 to 1688.
And why was that a good system?
The constitutional system?
No. Why was it a good system when we had an absolute monarch?
Well, I mean, have you walked around London lately and seen what that created? Have you been to Westminster? Have you been to, under the absolute monarchy of Henry VIII created essentially the Tudor age, which to me is the most spectacular age of English history, was the Tudor age. Shakespeare flourished under an absolute monarchy. I don't see any Shakespeares in China. So that tells you that maybe there's some difference between Elizabeth I and Xi Jinping. We can explore that. But, I think that England is very much capable of flourishing again and becoming the mistress of the world with a system of government that, is not devoted to sending, pensioners' heating bills to Mauritius.
Okay, when our monarch was kind of closely involved with your country, it took a war and a revolution to change that, okay? How do we go from where we are now? This is a democracy. How do we find our monarch?
Well,
it sounds to me like this is quite a difficult process.
Well, it's a difficult process if you want it to be perfect. But actually, one of the things that we see in European history is that there were quite a great number of quite imperfect, but not Hitler, not Stalin kings. I would say, just off the top of my head, if you picked any one of the, do you have a Fortune 500 thing here? If you picked...
Stock exchange, yeah.
Yes, if you picked any successful CEO...
FTSE 100.
The FTSE 100, it sounds like we're playing footsie under the table. It must be a thing. I'm sure it's a thing. If you picked any competent CEO and gave him the actual powers of the CEO over the whole state, I think that they do much better than they're doing now. And
I've seen powerful, effective, clever, sensible CEOs who've come into government
and failed.
And failed.
And let me tell you why they failed. Why they failed is that they didn't know what they were doing and they didn't understand where they were.
Well, that means they're not going to be very good at it.
Well, no, because they're basically put in charge of a civil service that, has been in yes minister mode for approximately 150 years. And they realize that they can't tell these people what they do. And you put, for example, the first Trump administration appointed the CEO of ExxonMobil as a Secretary of State. Now, at ExxonMobil, he was the CEO, and it's a pretty easy job being CEO of ExxonMobil, I gotta say, because it's just oil.
Could you do it?
Not as well as him, probably.
No.
But it's
not that easy.
Not that easy.
No.
Not that easy. But, at being Secretary of State, he completely failed because he did not understand. Nobody really knows what the mission of the U.S. State Department is to start with. Moreover, so you're the CEO of an organization whose mission is predominantly historical and has something to do with our empire, which we have for some reason. And you don't control the budget. You don't control the policy. And most of all, you don't control the personnel. You can't fire people. Now, Donald Trump has just sort of decided that he could fire people and seems to have gotten away with it. And this is very contrary to my experience growing up as a child of the American Civil Service. Perhaps it's legal, I don't know. But the fact is...
does it matter?
Does it matter?
That if it's legal or not?
No, it doesn't. It actually doesn't. Because I think...
So if that is a prevalent view amongst even a small section of the American public, then that is the erosion of the rule of law.
Yes, because there's actually no...
we don't care about that.
There's actually no such thing as the rule of law. There's only the rule of men. And what we've basically...
Do women have a role in this?
And women.
And
women. And women. Actually, I think in some ways they're much more powerful.
Okay, good. Good.
We've all experienced it.
Yeah, we have. But I'm intrigued by this because I sort of feel that there's a kind of germ of an idea in what you're saying, but it isn't actually borne out necessarily by historical analysis, and nor is it practical today. And we are living here today. We're not living in Tudor times. We're living in 2025, massive challenges facing the world. And I would argue, by the way, that somebody who came back from the Tudor age and saw the world today would be pretty blown away by it.
They'd be impressed by the technology, and they'd be very disturbed by the state of humanity. Ask the the Tudor aristocrat to, walk a high street at, 3 in the morning and see what comes stumbling out of the pubs. I don't think they'd be super happy with that.
How long have you been here? I mean, it's so.
Well, you know what? The other great term that the new right has invented is the banana. Do you know the banana?
No.
The banana is the banana-shaped good part of London. I understand that we're roughly at the north end, at the little stalk end of the banana.
But this is what's so amazing about the way that your culture's developed. So, if I'm not wrong, it's still the case that a majority of your Congress people do not have passports. Most Americans do not have passports. They know next to nothing about this country other than this kind of relentless propaganda put out for some reason, which I've never quite worked out, by the MAGA crowd, who live on myth.
And give me an example of the myth.
The myth is that you feel less safe in London than any city in the world. I've lived in
any city. Port-au-Prince. I don't think that anyone.
No, okay, but that is the myth that gets put out. If you look at some of the MAGA social media stuff, don't go to London. It's scary. We get phone calls from people saying, is it safe to come to London? Because of this relentless propaganda. I'm surprised that you want to be part of that.
Are there places in London where you would be unsafe at nighttime?
There is no place in London where I would feel unsafe. Are there places?
Nobody's going to mess with you.
Are there places in London? Are there places in London where there is crime? Every place in the world, there is crime. Are there places? Yes.
Have you been to Tokyo?
I have been to Tokyo, yeah. I've also been to Singapore. I love Singapore. You have to have balanced, you have to have trade-offs in these things. All I'm saying to you is I just think the MAGA crowd, and I'm surprised you're falling into it, by projecting these myths about other countries, Vance, your friend Vance, coming to Munich and saying, the threat to you people is not Putin, is you don't believe in free speech. This guy who's now taking Jimmy Kimmel off the airwaves, trying to get the New York Post shut down. So,
Well, how many?
It's a myth.
How many people? Can I ask you? How many people were arrested for bad tweets last year in England?
I don't know the answer. Some. Now,
Some.
if you want my honest opinion, I think that social media under one of these amazing business guys, Elon Musk, who I wouldn't want running my bath, let alone a country, right? Because he's turned Twitter X into a complete cesspit, because it became in the aftermath of riots, which are quite dangerous and people can get killed, in the aftermath of a murder, which social media then weaponized to fuel riots, and some people within that said things that I think, frankly, they should have been punished
When you
for.
talk about,
Did I think they should have been sent to jail? Probably not.
When you talk about, yes, actually, there's quite a long history in democracies of, what we call people power or color revolutions, namely the people rising up and storming the presidential palace. Such a thing happened in Ukraine in 2014, and I imagine you were all for it. When I think of riots, I think more of London in 2011. Can you speak a little to that? What was the experience of watching the London riots in 2011 like from your standpoint? If I may ask a question or two.
Those were riots over the race riots. Well, we've had a long history of riot in this country. Actually, I don't have a vivid memory of those. I do have vivid memories of race riots in the north of England. They're very scary. And as a result of them, the role of leadership should be to try to bring people together and heal. What you see in your place, and we're seeing this actually not around a riot, but we're seeing it this very day arising from the assassination of Charlie Kirk. There is something about the right in your country that every problem is simply an opportunity to divide rather than unite.
Well, when I see it takes quite a bit of chutzpah, for the left to shoot your guy in the neck and then demand that you unite. I didn't hear any of that. You remember George Floyd? There's this very strange thing. This American, George Floyd, dies during an arrest and becomes this worldwide, cause celebre. I didn't hear any calls to unite then. I heard basically we were going to take this event and use it as political fuel around the world in the most cynical and aggressive possible way.
Well, I don't know.
What's good for the gander is good for the goose.
Well, there are ways of, again, your police may be a bit more brutal than ours. I've not seen many arrests like the one that we saw of George Floyd. And also, I think that what it led to was an understanding of the need for racial justice.
Justice?
Yeah, racial justice, racial equality. Racial equality.
Do you distinguish racial justice from any other form of justice? Is it like, is it racial justice when different races get special points on admission to college? Are you a believer in what we call affirmative action? You have that.
In some cases, I am. I'll give you an example. In this country, one of the reasons why we've got more female politicians than you currently have in your leadership is because at times in history it has taken affirmative action to get that. You are now deliberately doing the reverse of that, so that your politics and your government is becoming, frankly, fat, male, stale men. And that's about it.
Yeah.
So, you don't see that as progress.
To continue watching this video, click the link in the top left or in the description below.
With a free trial, you can enjoy the full talk and thousands more.
Thank you for being part of the conversation.